Hey guys, it's Bree. This guy here, Soren, has been super clingy the last couple days and is not letting me out of sight. So we're going for a little bit of a different, more casual setting. We are here tucked into tucked into a cozy space where he is getting all of the love-ins because he is really not having me pay attention to anything else. I am also knitting. This last project I am working on is called a Lady Fingers sweater. I'll go ahead and put the pattern in the description down below. But I wanted to talk to you about A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine, which is fantastic. Just, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It's fantastic. If you are a fan of the Ancillary Justice books or the Imperial Radic books, it's exactly what you're going to want to pick up. It's great for, I think, fans of the Verkosigan saga. Um, Essentially, if you like political intrigue, if you like questions about what it means to be yourself, what is your identity, I think that this is a fantastic, fantastic read. I split my time reading it between the physical and the audiobook because I'm a dirty uh, format switcher. I can't help myself. I hate putting a story down, and doing the split between formats lets me pick what's going to be most effective for myself. And the story follows an ambassador from a station or a series of stations kind of on the outskirts of this empire. And she is brought to the center of the empire essentially because the former ambassador has gone missing. Well, that's not true. He's dead. He's super dead. They have his body. It's not entirely clear what happened to him. They definitely didn't tell her what happened to him. And when she goes, she's sent with no information about whether he's alive or not. And she gets there, and everything's chaotic, and she has no clue what to do, no context. And intrigue starts happening to her basically right away. Um, and kind of part of the crux of the problem is that on this station they have these brain augments essentially. What they do is they give you parts of the personality and knowledge of the person who had the machine before you. If you've read On a Red Station Drifting by Elliot Bedard, it's kind of a similar idea, but implanted directly into your brain, it is fascinating. And the level of intrigue and mystery that Martine builds around this kind of story plot device, I think is just extremely well executed. So this, sorry, let me get through these next couple stitches. Um, so this new ambassador arrives with ridiculously out of date memories, with no context for what's going on. And all she really finds out quickly is that there is civil unrest in the capital, and that might lead to the destruction of the system that she is from, the station system that she's from. So all while she tries to navigate this and figure out what's going on in this world that isn't her own, with a language that isn't her own, she has this really interesting perspective. If you have read Rahel Varnhagen, The Life of a Jewess by Hannah Arendt, who I know, if you've been around, I love Arendt and I talk about her all the time. It is very much getting to this idea of the parvenu, or the outsider and exception. Because the people at the heart of this empire see others as barbarians, as savage and lesser, and they don't quite say that explicitly all the time, but it's definitely the undertone to the way they treat their outlying territories. And so our ambassador friend is kind of trying to navigate how to insinuate herself into this kind of community, knowing that they think of her as somebody who's incapable, trying to decide when to use that bias to her advantage and how to do that, all while uncovering enough information that she's going to maybe be able to pull off protecting her people. All of that is a fantastic backdrop to the story. And for me, the major question at the heart of the story isn't actually really about empire. It isn't really about kind of this idea of expansion. Those are very much present and active in the story. But much of the story is actually this question of identity. And I find it fascinating. So like I said earlier, this outlying station has a kind of archival memory system. So if I were to take over, say, the role of a pilot, I would get this implantation of a set of memories and personality of the pilot before me, who had also gotten this same chain or same kind of family of memories, so that you build over time just a huge set of experiences and opinions and resources, all within this same person who hosts it. And from the very beginning, when our ambassador arrives, the question is, who is she now that she no longer has just herself inside her head? What does it mean for her to have this kind of invasive personality now present? This memory system, this person, so to speak, who can at times kind of take over her neurology against her own will. What happens when she no longer has access to that after she's become or started to become integrated with that new personality? And what does this mean for her as somebody who's fundamentally an outsider? I find it really interesting. I think in a lot of ways, part of the thing about developing your own identity and your own personality is that there's kind of a twofold system to it. You have your internal idea of who you are, your self-identity. But there's also this, of course, external identity, who people tell you you are, how people perceive you. And each of those, I think, is set upon this series of stories. Your identity is stories you tell yourself about who you are and what's important to you and how you react to things. And similarly, that kind of external identity that's imposed upon you is how people see you, the stories they tell themselves about who you are and about things like your racial identity and things like that, and how you will react under certain circumstances, or whether you're worthy, on and on and on and on. And so the idea that you're kind of, what does it mean to be yourself when yourself also now has this entirely new set of stories is fascinating. And the idea of that outsider experience, I was talking with Claire and a couple of other folks, and we were talking about the idea that for so many, the main character in this story is really experiencing the immigrant experience in a very fundamental way, right? Being somebody who loves the culture you're going to, and fundamentally also always being somebody who's a little bit outside it. And I think that's a really interesting dynamic that Arkady Martine explores really, really well. The story overall is just incredibly elegant, all while being, I think, very engaging, very fast-paced, just filled with all sorts of fun political intrigue. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more battle-hardened, this is maybe not quite for you. Or if you're looking for something that maybe is a little lighter on world building, I think that there are other stories that you might enjoy before this one. But if those kind of fundamental questions of identity are something you're interested in, If you are really interested in the dynamic between oppressed and oppressor, I think this is one that you're really going to like. And again, I think I said this earlier, but if you're somebody who liked the Imperial Radic series, you need to read this. You will love this book. I put off reading it for most of 2019. The reason I picked it up was primarily because it was nominated for the BookTube SFF Awards. And I am so glad that I got the chance to read it and that I had a reason to actually pick it up. I am really interested to hear your thoughts. I know that this is going to be the kind of story that people either like or maybe are like, this is, I don't want to say too cerebral, but that just isn't in some people's wheelhouses, and I can recognize that. But I am incredibly interested in hearing what you have to say. I know people have generally really liked it. So if you are of the opinion that maybe the story is boring or that you didn't like it, I'm especially interested to hear from you. But anyway, right now I am reading Riot Baby, and I am super excited. Now that I am wrapping up filming this, first of all, this little guy, aren't you there? Say hi. Say hi. He's going to continue to get snuggles. But he and I are going to listen to Riot Baby while I continue to knit until the point that he decides the yarn is a toy, in which case I will put the knitting away. Stay safe, stay happy. Let me know if you need anything. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic reading week. Talk to you soon. Bye.